I want to do a semi-hard segue to this story from Fox News. Brooklyn subway shooting. Person of interest Frank James posted racist rants to YouTube for years. I do believe he got arrested. And what I've heard, and I think, I'll throw to Jason to correct me if I'm wrong, is that this guy was posting like black nationalist stuff.
Yes. He's been radicalized by corporate media. We've been sending black people the message through corporate media that you're a victim, you're oppressed, white people are the devil, and this guy bought what the media was selling. He's from Milwaukee or Waukesha, same area as the Darrell Brooks guy who was radicalized. It's no one should be surprised that we're creating these types of monsters because the media is basically telling you're crazy if you don't think like this guy.
I got a story for you, Jason. Some people watch the show and have seen it, may have heard me, but I assume most people haven't heard the story. I know sometimes I tell stories, several times, but there's different guests, so I apologize for it. But I knew a guy once, and I'll try and simplify the story for the sake of their privacy. There was a black dude and there was a white dude, and the black dude mentioned he was gonna, go run to the store real quick. And the white dude said, "Hey, when you're out, can you mind, when you're by the store, can you grab me a cheeseburger from the McDonald's?" And the guy said, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "Would you mind grabbing me a cheeseburger when you're over there by the McDonald's?" And then he started yelling at him, like, "What do you think? Who do you think I am?" Later, I asked the guy, like, "Whoa, I saw you yelling. Like, what happened?" And he's like, "The dude, he thinks I'm his boy. Like, I'm gonna go and get him food." And then I was like, if you were going to the store, I figured he'd just ask you to pick him up a burger. And so that was, to me, I was kind of like, I was like, I think you might be looking too much into this. And he said, "You don't understand, man. You don't understand what they think about people like me." And then I was like, when I was growing up, it didn't matter what your race were. We'd be like, "Oh, hey, you're out. Hey, give me a hot dog and fries. Would you do it?" We'd be like, "Sure." But I think what happens is you have people constantly saying, it's like Ibram X. Kendi said, it's not a question of did racism happen. It's how did racism manifest. You'll have people who think it's everywhere and look for it. And I'm like, maybe he just wanted you to be his friend and, do him a favor. Maybe he wasn't being racist. But if people internalize that and they constantly look for it, they might get offended where they shouldn't.
This goes all the way back to the feminization of America. Everything's about feelings. Women are driven by feelings more so than men. We've turned this entire society about, I feel like a woman, even though I have a penis. I feel like something was racist, even though that coach called a white guy MFer, and that's his language of choice. Even though that same guy that asked to get a cheeseburger asked his white friend to get him a cheeseburger the week before. But if I feel like it was racist, it is. And we all seem to accept that standard.
No, I don't personally. But
Growing up, I had friends who would use racial slurs for all of us, and he wasn't racist. It was just edgy young punk humor. We watched Family Guy and South Park, so he'd go around and we'd all laugh at it. He would call us names. I'm like, I don't care, like, because he's my friend and I know he's just trying to take jabs at me and it's funny. And he would call himself names too. But today's day and age, it's like you can't belittle these ideas. When I look back on what it was like being a kid, having a friend who would call people names, it felt like he was taking the power away from it. He would say something that was ultimately meaningless to all of us and was meant in jest and kind of playfully, so we never got mad about it. Nowadays, they've empowered it so much that even asking someone to grab you a burger is like the epitome of racism, that it's everywhere, always. And it's not the right, it's the woke who claim they're anti-racist, who are funneling as much oxygen into those fires of racism as possible.
Yeah, I wonder, is it biological? Like, is it in the diet, in the plastics in the water, the microplastics and the...
That's a big leap.
All these chemicals, like, that are making people so tense and edgy that they can't, like, not get angry when they hear these things?
I think a lot of it's just sort of ideology going around. It's making people... mentally ill in a way that they're
social media, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's social media, a lot of it's clicks. A lot of people are staying at home. They just don't have their friend circle. I mean, this is the stuff like Jonathan Haidt, Greg Lukianoff wrote about in Coddling the American Mind. We're seeing all-time highs of sort of mental health issues, depression, sexlessness among young kids. Not young kids, well, college-aged people. I'd hope sexlessness in young kids. But yeah, I mean, it's there's this skyrocketing rates of mental health issues, and this is, I think, we're seeing sort of a manifestation of a lot of that. We have this focus on these microaggressions. So when I was in graduate school, I remember hearing from this other grad student. It was a black woman, and she was talking about how she had this insane interaction that was very racist. She played ultimate frisbee, and we were like, well, what was this incident? And she had just started playing ultimate frisbee in this new league, but she was very athletic, and so she did really well on the first time that she played ultimate frisbee. And so some friends after the game came up to her. They had never met her before, and they said, man, you're so good at ultimate frisbee. Have you ever played before? And she was like, no. And then someone else said, well, that's just good genes. And she took that as being an instance of, this microaggression because, oh, I'm black, I have these good genes. And I heard this story, I remember thinking, no, the first instinct was, have you ever played before? Have you practiced? Is that why you're so good? And she said, no. And then well, what's the other alternative? You're just have a predisposition, you're athletic.
You're a natural.
Nature
versus
and then
nurture.
So she dismissed the nurture part, the practice, because she had never practiced before. And then because the next available option was you're a natural athlete, that was racism. And I just remember thinking, like, this is completely insane.
Black people, Frank James, we have been conditioned to believe the highest level of our existence is being a victim. And so we look, that's how you prove you're black. I'm a victim. And so for that woman to prove her blackness, she's on a college campus, I would imagine. Is that what
she was a grad student.
Grad student on a college campus. She's lived a very privileged life. There's probably black people that tease her. She talks too good of English. She's too smart, blah, blah, blah. And so her way of expressing her blackness, boy, you wouldn't believe the racist shit I went through. Oh, someone at Ultimate Frisbee said I was a natural. Boom. That's how she proves she's black.
You want to know what's crazy? I experienced racism in my life. In fact, we had a guest on the show. I don't want to bring up his name. Let him keep his peace for the time being. And when I said, I understand your worries about racism, my family dealt with some of this stuff. He said, no, you didn't. You're lying. You're a white boy. And I'm like, okay, so like, if I agree with you, now I'm wrong? I don't think, I think a lot of it is just power. It is this fascistic ethos of there is no truth but power. This guy's clearly not on my side. He doesn't like what I have to say. So when I reach out and say, I understand that because I've experienced similar, it's denial and rejection. No, you are wrong. It couldn't have happened to you. And I'm like, that's just the weirdest thing to me. You try to relate to someone and say, I can understand your argument, and they basically spit in your face.
Yeah, if I was like,
slap your
I
microphone.
really like your skin color, man. You have really nice skin color. Like, I don't hear that compliment going around a lot, but you can compliment someone's bone structure. You got really nice cheekbones.
I was told this today. So I had to get makeup for the Daily Wire.
Oh, boy.
They do this thing where they're like, they're very polite about it. They go, would you want to do any touching up, any makeup? Because I got like a blemish here and there. And I was like, I'm good. I think it's fine. Like, you sure? Just a little bit? I mean, we can do it. It's no big deal. And I was like, if you guys think it's I need it, they're like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, we might as well, right? They're trying to be polite about it. But
every camera needs a nail. It's
but
the
you know
artist.
what? You know what the makeup artists always say? Maybe it's just true for me. They say, you have great skin. No, I imagine they say it to everybody because they're doing makeup and they got to say that to you. And did I go, excuse me, what does that mean? Are you talking about the color? No. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Let me ask y'all a difficult question. This is, I think, because it'd be difficult to be this transparent. But this is the Tim Pool show. You guys are really transparent. And Tim, I know you're not white per se, but do you have trepidation in dealing with black people you don't know because you anything you say can and will be potentially used against you? Does that thought cross your mind? Coming in and talking to me, it's like you watch my show, you know my reputation. Oh, I can be myself. It's Whitlock. But when you're dealing with perhaps someone black that you don't know, do you sit there and think like, oh my God, let me be very careful?
No, not after I see their eyes. We are the brain, eyeball, spinal cord creature moving these saltwater bodies around. You just look in the eyes, man. It's not that we're all the same. I used to say that a lot, but it's like, I don't even like all the color and the shape fades away when you're communicating with someone, and everybody appreciates it. That's been my ethos since I was like 14. at least since I was 2.
You know,
but really when I was 26.
You know what it is for me? It's politics, not race.
Yeah.
When there's that study, I think I was at Yale, we talk about quite a bit, where conservatives speak to black people normally, but liberals like dumb down their language, which is it's insane. I couldn't imagine doing that. And so, for me, I'm like, I really just kind of talk to everybody the way I talk to everybody. I might have, I think it's fair to say there are certain assumptions we might make about people based on race, based on the politics of of our environment. But I would say 99.9% is just like, I'm going to talk to this person the same way I talk to everybody else because I don't want to make assumptions about them.
Yeah, first,
especially based on
we're
race.
not different races. We're the same species, the Homo sapien. And I like talking to people with different, I guess it's called ethnic backgrounds, or like different genetic backgrounds because our ancestors lived in different environments. Like the Asian ancestry, maybe because the winds were so biting in the Mongolian plains, they squinted. And over generations, the babies were just born so they didn't have to squint, Or people with darker skin than mine had a lot of sunlight. People with light skin like mine, their ancestors lived at night.
Everybody has darker skin.
My dad, one time, I was at the beach, and my dad was like, "We lost Ian. Where's Ian?" They looked down the beach. They saw a glowing white thing. They're like, "There he is." And he was right.
Here's what I think is important to understand, especially like when it comes to race. There's different physical characteristics. Say hair, for instance. There's different hair products for white and black people, or not even necessarily white and black, but there literally are different hair treatments and styles. So there's an assumption someone might make, but it shouldn't change. These things don't change the way you treat a human being's their soul, their spirit. I wonder about this because when we talk with people like Seamus of Freedom Tunes, for instance, and he very much believes in the soul and the body as being one. I'm like, is it something that people who don't believe in a soul will treat you like nothing but the body and ignore your inner? You know what I mean?
You know what I don't like?
They'll look at you and think your race is you, instead of wondering about who you are as a person because you have a soul.
I don't like when I talk to people about people with dark skin, if I'm talking about the difference of light skin and dark skin, because it's relative to my skin color. And that's really rude of me to act like that. Like, I should be talking about people with light skin and just see it from other perspectives than me as like the 0 point, as the starting point.
Well, let me, I don't know if you wanted to answer that because I didn't want to.
No, I mean, I like to think I give people, the first volley in a conversation, and it's going to be the same for just about everybody that I interact with, and over iterations, that's when I'll build a sort of a model.
But
of who
there's
they
like
are.
hold on. I want to throw the question back at you, Jason. Do you think you, or do you think black people have a certain way of talking with white people in like a similar fashion you asked us?
In this culture today, no, I don't think there's any trepidation, any fear. Because I think the culture has kind of said there are no standards for black behavior.
Have you seen the Ami Horowitz video on voter ID?
I think I have. But
I didn't mean to interrupt you, so if you want to finish that thought real quick.
No, go ahead.
So, they say voter ID is racist.
Yeah.
Classic video. I love bringing it up. So he goes to Berkeley, and he asks these young white progressives, is voter ID racist? And what do they say? Of course. He says, why? He gets a few answers. Black people can't afford IDs. Black people don't know where the DMV is, and black people don't have the internet. So he goes to the Bronx. He goes to Harlem. Right. And he asks this woman, he's like, ma'am, is a black woman. He's like, this might seem strange, but do you have an ID? And she goes, what? I know it might seem strange. And she goes, of course I have an ID. He's like, okay. He asks a young black man. He's like, I know it might seem strange. Do you know anybody who doesn't have the internet? And he's like, what do you mean? 12-year-old kids know how to get the internet. We got the internet on our phone. But my favorite interaction is when he walks up to this like older black dude and he goes, do you know where the DMV is? He goes, yeah, it's right over on 25th. He turned it like he's giving him directions. And I'm just like, for the media to push this narrative about black people, it's like, have you ever talked to a black person? The assumption that they're a different and foreign group of people to me is mind-boggling.
What I don't,
but it plays right into that Yale study I was just talking about.
I don't like black and white. I don't like the words because, first of all, my skin's not white. It's like pinkish. Your skin's not black. It's like brown, red. And like historically, white magic is like healing magic, and black magic is like dark arts, like blood magic. So like, it's the stigmas attached to calling people black and white when we're not.
Hold on. I gotta push back because that is a woke argument. where they're trying to claim that like Harry Potter and Magic the Gathering are racist.
Denigrate.
White and black is a reference to night and day.
Exactly.
It's not
and,
race.
and when in the daytime you can see the predators coming, and at night you can't. So there's this inherent like scariness to the dark night, you know. So like, I don't like that people use black and white. I don't like black. I mean,
I get
obviously
where
they
you're
say,
coming from.
Then
man.
stop playing Magic the Gathering because black
Never.
and white magic.
But
I'm a white mage through and through, but that's just I like to heal people.
I get where you're coming from because it's like the word blackballed. Like black has the negative connotation, and what you're arguing is like Jason's not even black. Why are we calling him black? I'm not really white. Why? I get that, but because we've established these cultural customs that we all somewhat adhere to, you know, we got to live in this reality.
Do we? I want to shatter that.
I agree. I think you're 100% right. That should be the goal. I think we should be literally trying to live up to Dr. King's dream, judge people by the content of the character. The left seems to be taking us the total opposite direction, and we now all have, again, what you're seeing with black people is that they interpret the world through this lens of race, every interaction. And it's like, hey man, some people just are having a bad day. It had nothing to do with your skin color. Their wife may have made them sleep on the couch last night, and so he's grumpy and gave you a cold answer. But we ascribe anything that bad. If he punched me in the arm right now, I could. He only did that because I'm black. That may be his way of greeting everybody that he's friendly with or finds, you know, interesting or whatever. But we just describe race and some negative connotation to any experience we have.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.